What if I told you that Hollywood's biggest throne has been quietly fought over for decades? Not on a stage, not in a boxing ring, not in some official contest, but in the hearts, the minds, and the imaginations of audiences all over the world. Two actors, two living legends, two completely different paths, yet both destined to define what it means to be a star. Johnny Depp and Leonardo DiCaprio. Both of them have had careers that most people in the industry would only dream of. Both of them created unforgettable characters that shaped entire generations. And yet, people always come back to one question. Who really owns the Hollywood throne? It's not an easy question, and maybe that's why it's so fascinating. Because when you line up Johnny Depp and Leonardo DiCaprio, you don't just see two actors, you see two philosophies of stardom, two completely different ways of building a career, two distinct choices that led them both to the very top. They started around the same time, they both rose quickly, they both became global icons. But the way they got there, and the way they stayed there, couldn't be more different. So let's turn the clock back to the early 1990s. Johnny Depp was already a name people couldn't ignore. He was young, magnetic, and already had the kind of fan base that screamed his name wherever he went. Thanks to 21 Jump Street, Depp was the poster boy for teenage rebellion. But here's the thing. He hated being typecast. He hated the idea of being just another pretty face. He wanted to be taken seriously. And you could tell, even in those early interviews, that he wasn't going to play it safe. He wasn't going to settle for roles that kept him boxed in. He wanted weird. He wanted different. He wanted characters that were almost too strange to be real. And then, in 1993, a young Leonardo DiCaprio entered the picture. He was hungry, eager, full of energy, and ready to prove himself. And where did he land one of his first breakthrough roles? Right beside Johnny Depp in What's Eating Gilbert Grape. Depp was already a star, already carrying weight, already shaping his career. In bold ways. Leo was the kid, just a teenager, but his performance was so powerful, so raw, so emotional that people instantly knew he was special. He stole scenes even while acting next to Depp. Imagine that. Two actors who would go on to define Hollywood, sharing the screen at such a critical moment. One already at the peak of his fame, the other just beginning to climb. That movie wasn't just a stepping stone, it was a glimpse into the future. You could already see the paths forming. Depp, the bad boy heartthrob who wanted to transform into something stranger. DiCaprio, the serious young talent who was aiming straight for greatness. And from that point on, their careers split like two roads headed in completely different directions. Depp embraced transformation. He dove headfirst into the kind of roles most actors would run from. He became Edward Scissorhands, pale-faced and tragic, with giant blades for hands. He turned into Ichabod Crane in Sleepy Hollow, quirky and awkward. He reinvented Willy Wonka as a childlike oddball. And of course, he created Captain Jack Sparrow, the drunk, swaggering pirate who took a forgotten theme park ride and turned it into one of the biggest movie franchises of all time. Depp became Hollywood's ultimate chameleon. Every role was unpredictable. Every film carried the excitement of not knowing what he would do next. He wasn't just acting, he was disappearing into characters. But being unpredictable comes with risks. For every smash hit, there was a flop. For every role that captured the world's imagination, there was another that critics tore apart. That was Depp's gamble. Sometimes he hit the jackpot, sometimes he didn't. But no matter what, he always kept people talking. DiCaprio chose a different route. After Titanic, he could have stayed the safe heartthrob forever. He could have cashed in on romantic leads and made millions just playing versions of Jack Dawson again and again. But he didn't. He walked away from that safety net and set his sights higher. He built his career around working with the best directors. He teamed up with Martin Scorsese and created a string of films that cemented his reputation. Gangs of New York, The Aviator, The Departed, Shutter Island, The Wolf of Wall Street. He took chances too, but they were calculated chances. He wasn't. Unpredictable like Depp. He was strategic, almost surgical, about every role he took. He wanted his career to scream serious actor, and that's exactly what it did. And so the contrast grew. Depp was Hollywood's rock star, wild, eccentric, a mystery. DiCaprio was the maestro, serious, polished, precise. Depp's characters were larger than life. DiCaprio's characters felt deeply human. One was chaos, the other was control. But let's not pretend Hollywood is only about acting. It's also about image, and that's where things get complicated. Depp's personal life often overshadowed his work. The relationships, the controversies, the headlines. Suddenly the man behind the characters became a tabloid spectacle. His legal battles and scandals turned into global media events. Studios distanced themselves. Fans fought over him online. His career became inseparable from his personal drama, and that's something DiCaprio largely avoided. Leo kept his life private. Sure, tabloids had their fun with his dating history. Everyone knows the jokes about him only dating models under 25. But those stories never actually hurt his career. If anything, they gave him this strange aura, this larger-than-life bachelor. Image that became part of his myth. He didn't get dragged into messy court cases. He didn't air out his private struggles. He let his work do the talking. And that's why, even during times when Depp's star seemed to dim, DiCaprio's kept burning bright, and then came the Oscars. For years it was the running joke. Leonardo DiCaprio, one of the greatest actors of his generation, couldn't win. An Academy Award. No matter how many brilliant performances he gave, the golden statue slipped through his fingers. People made memes about it. Fans rooted for him year after year, until finally, with The Revenant, he won. That single moment changed everything. It wasn't just a win, it was a release, a confirmation of what people already knew. That DiCaprio wasn't just famous, he was one of the best. Depp, on the other hand, despite multiple nominations, never took home that Oscar. And for some, that's the line that separates the king from the challenger. But is it really that simple? Because here's the truth. Depp achieved something just as valuable, if not more. He created characters that became pop culture legends. Jack Sparrow isn't just a role, it's an icon. Edward Scissorhands isn't just a movie, it's a cultural symbol. These characters went beyond awards. They became part of our lives, our costumes, our jokes, our Halloween decorations. DiCaprio's roles were powerful, but they didn't seep into culture in quite the same way. He gave us unforgettable performances, but Depp gave us unforgettable characters. So maybe the throne is split. Depp owned cultural influence. DiCaprio owned critical acclaim. One ruled pop culture, the other ruled prestige cinema. And they both carved legacies that no one else can touch. And here's something you might not know. Despite what fans think, there wasn't really a rivalry between them. Insiders say they rarely even went for the same roles. Studios didn't have to choose between them because they offered totally different things. Depp was the eccentric wild card. Leo was the prestige perfectionist. 2 lanes, 2 styles. Same goal, to be remembered forever. And they respected each other. Depp admitted he used to tease young Leo on the set of Gilbert Grape, but later he praised him for his work ethic. Leo in turn said he learned a lot just by watching Depp back then. It wasn't a fight. It was mutual respect between 2 artists who understood what it meant to be great. Fast forward to today. Johnny Depp is rebuilding. After years of headlines that seemed to focus more on his personal life than his acting, he's trying to put the pieces back together. The world has watched him face some of the hardest battles of his life, and for a while it looked like his Hollywood journey might be over. Studios were hesitant. Roles dried up. Even franchises he had once carried on his shoulders, like Pirates of the Caribbean, felt out of reach. But Depp is not the type of person who fades away quietly. He has always been unpredictable, and that spark, the one that made him stand out in the first place, is still there. He's turning more toward music these days, touring with bands, playing guitar on stage, living out the rock star side of his personality that was always just under the surface. Music has been in his life longer than acting. Before Hollywood, he wanted to be a musician, and in some ways it feels like he's circling back to the purest version of himself. But he's not done with film either. Slowly, carefully, he's stepping back in. Indie projects, art house films, smaller roles that allow him to explore creativity without the crushing weight of blockbuster expectations. It's almost like he's returning to his roots, the risk-taker, the outsider, the artist who doesn't want to be trapped in the machine of Hollywood, but still wants to tell stories in his own way. There's a maturity to him now. He's older, perhaps quieter, maybe a little more scarred, but those scars give him depth. He's lived through storms that most people couldn't survive, and he's still standing. That's resilience. And whether people love him or criticize him, you can't deny that he has an aura, a magnetism that hasn't disappeared. He still has that unpredictability, that feeling that when Johnny Depp is on screen, you're going to see something different, something offbeat, something nobody else would dare try. And in a Hollywood that sometimes feels like it plays it too safe, that's still valuable. Leonardo DiCaprio, on the other hand, is in a completely different place. He's still at the top of the game, still carrying that reputation as the actor, who never phones it in. Every time he appears in a film, you know it's going to be something serious, something critics will debate, something audiences will remember. He continues to team up with Martin Scorsese, one of the greatest director-actor partnerships in modern film. Together, they've built a library of classics that will be studied for decades, and Leo shows no signs of slowing down. He's still picking roles that balance prestige and box office power, a rare combination. He can star in a heavy, thought-provoking drama and still make it a financial success. Studios love him because he's reliable. Audiences trust him because he's consistent. Critics respect him because he doesn't waste his talent. That's a trifecta few actors ever achieve. He has become Hollywood's safe bet, but not in a boring way. Safe because you know it's going to be good. Safe because you know he won't tarnish his reputation with half-hearted projects. Safe because he carries the weight of a true movie. Star, something that's becoming rarer with each passing year. And outside of acting, DiCaprio has carved out a second identity as a global activist. His environmental work has given him another platform, another way to influence the world. While Depp's image has often been defined by chaos and controversy, DiCaprio has cultivated the persona of a man on a mission, saving the planet, speaking out about climate change, producing documentaries that shine a light on issues others might ignore. He's managed to make activism part of his star power, and that only strengthens his legacy. So here we are, with Depp rebuilding his career brick by brick, rediscovering his voice, redefining his image, while DiCaprio continues to reign as the face of Hollywood prestige. It feels like two different chapters of the same book, one man trying to write a comeback story, the other still adding gold-plated chapters to a career that seems bulletproof. But when you really think about it, their differences are what make this comparison so fascinating. Depp's career has been messy, chaotic, full of highs and lows, twists and turns. He was the daredevil who sometimes crashed but sometimes soared higher than anyone else. DiCaprio's career has been steady, deliberate, almost mathematical in its precision. He built a ladder and climbed it one careful step at a time until he reached the very top. Depp is the storm. DiCaprio is the mountain. And yet, both of them have achieved something most actors never will. Depp gave us characters that live forever. Jack Sparrow, Edward Scissorhands, the Mad Hatter, these aren't just roles, they're cultural landmarks. DiCaprio gave us performances that will be studied in film schools for generations. His roles in The Departed, The Revenant, The Wolf of Wall Street, these are masterclasses in acting. One man gave us legends. The other gave us lessons. When you look at Depp today, playing guitar on stage, smiling in smaller indie films, showing up with that quiet energy of a survivor, you realize he's not trying to compete anymore. He's not trying to be what Hollywood wants him to be. He's trying to be what he wants to be. And maybe that's the truest form of artistry, when you stop chasing the throne and just live for the craft. And when you look at DiCaprio today, shaking hands with Scorsese on red carpets, making movies that dominate award seasons, using his platform to push for causes he cares about, you realize he's more than just a movie star. He's become a symbol of Hollywood's serious side, the face of an industry that still values art in an age of endless franchises and remakes, and maybe that's the real magic of this comparison. Depp reminds us of the wild, unpredictable side of Hollywood, the chaos, the risks, the characters that come out of nowhere and take over the world. DiCaprio reminds us of the disciplined, focused side of Hollywood, the artistry, the precision, the performances that stick with you long after the credits roll. Together they form a kind of balance, two extremes that make the industry richer, more interesting, more alive. So who really holds the Hollywood throne today? Some would say DiCaprio. He's consistent, respected, untouchable. Others would say Depp, because no matter how many times he falls, he finds a way back, and because the characters he created are etched into culture in a way that few actors can claim. But maybe the truth is that the throne was never meant for just one. Maybe it was always meant to be shared by the storm and the mountain, the rock star and the maestro, the wild card and the perfectionist. And as both men continue their journeys, one rebuilding, one still soaring, we, the audience, are the lucky ones. Because we get to witness two completely different approaches to greatness. Two legends writing their final chapters in ways only they can. Depp, unpredictable as ever. DiCaprio, steady as always. And both of them reminding us why we fell in love with the movies in the first place. So who really wears the crown? Maybe the better question is, why does it have to be just one? Because maybe the Hollywood throne was never meant to be singular. Maybe it was always about two kings ruling different kingdoms. Depp gave us magic, madness, and characters that will live forever. DiCaprio gave us depth, discipline, and performances that will stand the test of time. Both of them, in their own way, defined what it means to be a legend. And now it's your turn to decide. If you had to choose, who do you think truly holds the throne? Is it Johnny Depp, the man who gave us Jack Sparrow and Edward Scissorhands, the actor who could transform into anything and take us on wild, unpredictable journeys? Or is it Leonardo DiCaprio, the actor who mastered his craft, chased excellence with every role, and finally claimed his Oscar after years of waiting? Or maybe, just maybe, the truth is that the throne belongs to both of them, because together they represent the two faces of Hollywood, the wild and the refined, the unpredictable and the precise, the rock star and the maestro. And here's the hardest question of all. If you could only keep one of their filmographies, just one, whose would you choose? Would you give up Captain Jack Sparrow in exchange for Inception? Would you trade Titanic for Edward Scissorhands? Would you let go of The Departed to hold on to Pirates of the Caribbean? That's the impossible choice. That's the power of these two men. And that's why, no matter how you answer, you're admitting something very clear. Both Johnny Depp and Leonardo DiCaprio will always be legends.